So welcome officially to two of you. Good expression session there to warm us up for tonight's session. So let's have a look first of all at today's reading from the Manual for Teachers, which is section 3 of the Manual for Teachers. It answers the question, what are the levels of teaching? Okay, so I'll just share my screen with you. Okay, so what are the levels of teaching? Section 3, Manual for Teachers. Let's show this again. Okay. So shall we read it in the original and the alternative? Either one of you start, read original in sentence by sentence, and then the other one read the alternative. Cam, do you want to go for the original?
So I read the original, Elaine reads the alternate. Is that what you're saying? Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay. And it's one sentence by one sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. The teachers of God have no set teaching level.
The teachers of perfect love have no set teaching level.
Each teaching learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although the ultimate goal is always the same, to make of the relationship a holy relationship in which both can look upon the Son of God as sinless.
Each teaching learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although my ultimate goal is always the same, to make of the relationship an innocent relationship in which both can perceive the extension of perfect love as innocent.
There is no one from whom a teacher of God cannot learn, so there is no one whom he cannot teach. However,
There is no one from whom I, as a teacher of perfect love, cannot learn, so there is no one whom I cannot teach.
Number 4, Kim.
However, from a practical point of view, he cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find him.
However, from a practical point of view, I cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find me.
Therefore, the plan includes very specific contacts to be made for each teacher of God.
Therefore, the plan includes very specific contacts to be made for me and every other teacher of perfect love.
There are no accidents in salvation.
There are no accidents in awakening.
Those who are to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a holy relationship.
Those who are destined to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a holy, innocent relationship.
They are ready for each other.
They are ready for each other. From the top, the teachers of perfect love have no set teaching level. Each teaching learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although my ultimate goal is always the same, to make of the relationship an innocent relationship, which both can perceive the extension of perfect love as innocent. There is no one from whom I, as a teacher of perfect love, cannot learn, so there is no one whom I cannot teach. However, from a practical point of view, I cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find me. Therefore, the plan includes very specific contacts to be made for me and every other teacher of perfect love. There are no accidents in awakening. Those who are destined to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a wholly innocent relationship. They are ready for each other. The teachers of perfect love and teaching learning situations can be different at the beginning, but always the same to make the relationship innocent in both people. So it's just saying that you can't meet everybody, so there'll be no accidents in who you meet and no accidents in awakening. They are destined to meet together, to have a wholly innocent relationship, and are ready for each other. So
Yeah, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the teacher is ready, the student appears. That's how it works. In a quite miraculous synchronistic way, and somehow the universe conspires to make sure they meet, which is a pretty extraordinary process, really, when you think about how many people there are on the planet, and so how do you meet your teacher? Well, there's something else going on. There's some kind of divine guidance system that connects you, that makes sure you meet the teachers and all the students that are right for you, that there's a match. Okay, so can we go into number 2? Kim, any thoughts or comments about that one?
I'm just the sentence number 4. However, from a practical point of view, I cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find me. Is that just like in the illusion? You're not going to meet all 7.7 billion people.
Yeah.
8 billion.
Yeah, 8.3, I think it is officially.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's an enormous number of people, even with technology now. You can connect with potentially millions of people. But if you have even a good like YouTube channel, and you could maybe reach a few million people. That's
Yeah.
still like a drop in the ocean of 3 billion. So you might have made a difference to a lot more than just a few people's lives, but you just cannot meet. Everybody's really talking about. Remember, this is days before the internet. He's talking about physical meetings here. You just can't. You can't meet everyone. It's not possible. So practically speaking, they're going to be a limited number of specific contacts that are kind of predestined in everyone's awakening. For the teacher, the student, it's all meant to be. It's synchronistic. Those are destined to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a wholly innocent relationship. They're ready for each other, and then they get connected. It's like two magnets, attracting each other. Somehow they get connected. So I was telling a story about my experience of meeting a breathwork teacher. I told it to Elaine. So Elaine, forgive me, but I'll tell it to Kim as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I was in South Africa at the time, and I went to a print shop next to the yoga studio. Do you remember that, Kim? You'll know that there's a yoga studio in Ilovo, Sally's yoga
Oh,
studio,
yes.
the Bikram one.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was next door to that. There was a print shop, and I was getting some lamination done for some event or something I was doing in the print shop next door. And this old chap's there, sitting at the counter. So while I'm waiting, he starts kind of chatting to me. And within about 5 minutes, he's telling me about the fact that he studied breath work in Monaco, and from studied with a Monaco Olympic team. And I shared with him that I was a professional squash player. I was still playing at that point, and that I'd learned to breathe through my nose. And he was like, "Oh, right. Well, come along to my house on Saturday, and I'll teach you some stuff. I'll teach you power breathing." I'm like, "Okay." Kind of totally random encounter in a print shop. And then, so I went on Saturday. I felt like kind of quite excited. Actually, I was like, "Oh, I think there's something here." And then so we do the power breathing, which you both know because I taught it to you. And then he says, "Okay, so we're going to do something called Kriya Yoga now, John. So what I suggest you just watch, because it's quite advanced, and just kind of get the hang of it. And maybe you can do it next time." And so then I said to him, "Is that the same Kriya Yoga as Paramahansa Yogananda talked about in his book?" He said, "You know about Yogananda?" I said, "Yes, I've read his book, and it talks about Kriya Yoga in depth, but except it doesn't teach you how to do it." And then he was like, "Right, you're like, you're my protege." He taught every week we met to do breath work while I was in Joburg for several years. And he taught me like the Kriya, and he taught me everything he knew. And I took it further than he had. I ended up being able to hold my breath um, for like half an hour, much longer than he recommended. He said like 3 minutes, but I just sort of pushed it beyond that. So, when you look at that kind of encounter, totally random, synchronistic, and he was there were two people, as far as I was aware, in South Africa who knew this authentic Kriya that was taught by Yogananda. He'd been taught by his teacher guru, called Manny Fingo, who had learnt it from Yogananda in California. And Yogananda had got it from his guru in India, who'd got it from his guru, who'd got it from an ascended master called Mahavatar Babaji, who knocks around the Himalayas in various different forms. It doesn't die. So it's like in a direct lineage. I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's pretty amazing." I wanted to know that when I read the book. I wanted to know the Kriya Yoga. I thought I'd have to go and find some guru in India to teach me, or go find Babaji in the Himalayas. But actually, it found me in a print shop in Ilovo. Totally, and it was random. He said, "I never come here. It just happens that his normal print shop at that time had no electricity, so he'd had to come up the road to get his printing done. And I just happened to be there at the same time, and there happened to be this connection. And then I happened to learn the Kriya Yoga that I wanted to learn." I mean, you can't make this stuff up, can you? You can't doubt when something like that happens, that there's some kind of divine intelligence, there's some kind of power that you can't really understand, that works in the world for good, to help you to meet the teacher that you need to meet. And from his perspective, this was the student he was looking for, who he could then pass on his knowledge to before he died, which he has subsequently, because he was in his late 70s at the time. So yeah, exactly what he's talking about. There's this synchronicity that happens in these encounters. And so then they're not by chance. All right, so let's go on, shall we? Simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. I think not really much point in reading this twice because it's there's not a lot here to translate. So maybe Kim, just read the alternative.
Okay. The simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. It consists of what seem to be very casual encounters, a chance meeting of two apparent strangers in an elevator, a child who is not looking where he is going, running into an adult by chance, or two students happening to walk home together. These are not chance encounters. Each of them has the potential for becoming a teaching learning situation. Perhaps seeming strangers in the elevator will smile to one another. Perhaps the adult will not scold the child for bumping into him, and perhaps students will become friends. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Awakening has come. Well, that's really nice, isn't it?
Hmm.
So what he's saying is, these encounters don't happen by accident. There's a reason for it. That's very, that's significant that it could be enough for awakening, basically. And it's just giving examples of different ones, which I think we can relate to in terms of how we've had our, experiences of chance encounters, which, developing something, or there's some kind of miracle that can happen from that as a result of awakening.
I heard a story once, actually, it's quite moving in this context, that there was this teenager who was walking home from school, and he was really, desperate. He was ready to commit suicide. And he said someone stopped and helped him. I think he dropped a book or something, and chatted to him. And that act of kindness stopped him from doing it. Otherwise, he was going to do it. So you just don't know, what that sort of random little encounter where someone showed kindness by, helping him, chatting to him, saying a kind word, was an incredibly important, encounter in that person's life, because he would have ended his life. And that gave him enough hope to say, well, actually, maybe I can continue. Maybe there is love in the world, and I won't end it all. So you just don't know, what little act of kindness can make a huge difference to someone in these chance encounters. But at the very least, it's just an opportunity to share love in a brief moment that brightens both people's day. So why not? Why not go through your life with that, going on? Chance encounters, holy encounters all the time, brightening your day and everyone else's day, rather than the negativity of the ego. It's a choice. So whenever, these kinds of encounters, Kim, you'll be familiar with this at robots in South Africa. You get often poor people begging. A lot of people just ignore them. They're just like, oh, whatever, just completely ignore that they even exist. But what they're missing is a chance for a holy encounter right there. That person is you looking back at you. So if you give them something, could be some money. It could be a piece of fruit. I used to go around with apples in the car for that reason. It's a chance for a connection, isn't it? That can actually be meaningful for both of you. So I would always like, okay, well, here's some money and give it in the spirit of generosity and just acknowledge that person's being for a moment. You know, you look them in your eyes and they say, oh, he says, thank you, my brother. And you go, yeah, thank you. And you look the guy in the eye, even for a second or two, and you just acknowledge his presence, his being. There's a holy encounter there, isn't there? And that is worth R2 or R5 or whatever you gave, because you've just got a holy encounter. Both of you have shared some love, and both of you feel better for it. And so, you know, in places like South Africa, you've got opportunities for that on every corner. Literally around the corner, every corner, there's an opportunity for that if you choose to see it that way. Now, how different, you know, if people thought this way, how different it would be for them. Instead of, just all these people on street corners, I can't stand it. It just makes me uncomfortable, and I just kind of try and ignore them. Actually, I could just change my perspective, go out every day with 10, 20 rand of change in my car, which I'm not really going to miss, and just have multiple holy encounters while I'm driving around. Why wouldn't you do that? Seen from the Holy Spirit's perspective, that's the logical thing to do. But how many people do that? Very few. So that's just an example of how the holy encounters can happen. You never see that person again in the situation I've just described. Never see them again. It's probably a once-off, unless they stay at the robot regularly and you see them every time, in which case it could become a more sustained. Okay, well, I see them every day, and we have a little chat, and I give them some money, and hey, it's like something deeper could develop. Who knows? Depending what the Holy Spirit has planned for both of you. All right. So any other, I think that's fairly straightforward. First level encounter, chance encounters, which generally end there. There's nothing further. But it's just a chance to share love in that moment. The second one is this one let's read in the original alternative. So number 3, sorry. Okay. So I think Kim, if you read the original and Elaine reads the alternative of this one. Okay, Kim, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. If you can read the original from paragraph 3.3. It is difficult to understand.
It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching, the universal course, is a concept as meaningless in reality as it is time.
As is time.
Oh, as is time.
Okay, then.
Yes. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching, the universal course, is a concept as meaningless in reality as is time.
The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other.
The illusion of one illusion. The
Illusion of one.
It's just I'm pinching it out and it keeps popping back out. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other.
In time, the teacher of God seems to begin to change his mind about the world with a single decision, and then learns more and more about the new direction as he teaches it.
In time, a teacher of perfect love seems to begin to change their mind about the world with a single decision and then learn more and more about the new direction as they teach it.
We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seem to be something different. Perhaps the, oh, sorry.
We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seems to be something different.
Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of teaching, learning, situation is part of God's plan for at-one-ment, and his plan can have no levels, being a reflection of his will.
Need to lift that up. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of the teaching, learning situation is part of love's plan for at-one-ment, and its plan can have no levels, being a reflection of its undivided awareness.
Salvation is always ready and always there.
Awakening is always ready and always there.
God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same.
Perfect love's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. And let's read that again. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching, the universal course, is a concept as meaningless in reality as it is time. As is time. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. In time, a teacher of perfect love seems to begin to change their mind about the world with a single decision, and then learn more and more about the new direction as they teach it. We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seems to be something different. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of the teaching, learning situation is part of perfect love's plan for at-one-ment, and its plan can have no levels, being a reflection of its undivided awareness. Awakening is always ready and always there. Perfect love's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. So it's difficult to understand the levels of teaching, that the course is a concept and meaningless in reality. So the illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. So the teacher of perfect love can change their mind about the world with a single decision, and then learn more and more about the new direction.
So do you understand, just to stop there, Len, do you understand what he means by the teaching the universal course is just a concept as meaningless in reality as is time?
Oh yeah. Yeah, concept. He's trying to move us beyond that concept, but they have to start somewhere.
So on level this level 2, let's have a look at it in this way. Level 2, we still have useful concepts, words. These where's the Holy Trinity? There we go. Don't want that. Don't know why it does that sometimes. Never mind, we'll just go directly there. Holy Trinity is down here. So on this level 2, when you transitioning from level 2 to level 1, the universal course, mind training, all these tools like forgiveness, letting go, doing spiritual practices, everything that's part of this awakening, healing process is all useful, necessary. But it's still conceptual. And we still the true self is still a concept. It's a concept that connects you with your true awareness, but it is nevertheless still conceptual. Holy Spirit, involved in perception, it's still conceptual. Only pure formless awareness of perfect love goes beyond all concepts. But to get there, we use concepts that are helpful. So in reality, concepts aren't needed, is what he's saying. You don't need a course of transformation and healing and awakening. In reality, that's meaningless because you're already awake. You already are what you are. I am that I am. But if you don't think you are and you seem to be separated from that, then the course is necessary and concepts are necessary to awaken you to this, into this pure awareness. Okay, so that's just to explain where he's coming from. And then related to this, the illusion of levels of teaching. So you have levels of teaching in here. In these experiences, there's various levels of teaching and learning. These levels seem to exist in the illusion until you get to the top level, which is pure formless awareness, which would then correspond with that level 1 in this diagram. But while you're doing it, there's various concepts, there's various learning, there's growth. All of these things seem to have reality. And so there's levels of teaching and learning depending on where you are. Let's say someone is stuck at a level of fear and desire, down here at 100, 125, the kind of teaching learning that they need is different from someone who is maybe sitting at willingness and optimism. They're going to need something else. Do you see? A different kind of teaching. So there's 3 lanes, there's 3 levels of 3 primary kind of levels of this awakening. If someone is really stuck in these lower levels, say from 20 to maybe 100, around there, this is what we call tamas. It's inertia, very, very stuck in the past, not able to move. That person would typically be very stuck in their life, often sick, often in a very kind of low life state. So what that person needs is a different level of teaching. They might need some get up and go. They might like a personal growth type mindset that said to them, okay, you can change your mind, you can change your reality, you can create a better life for yourself. Your thoughts have power. You can create the reality you want. That might be appropriate for them. They need a bit of to go from say 50 apathy to desire is still quite a big step up. So then that level of teaching might be appropriate for them. But if they do that and they, let's say they start playing with desire and they start going up the ladder, and then they start getting maybe to the level of pride, maybe some courage is starting to come, but they're not sure at this point what to do, whether they just stick with their old way. At this point, another kind of level of teaching might come in and say, okay, well, actually what you need to do now is start letting go of your ego. Don't try and create a better ego. Move from the rajasic second level in the Indian teaching is rajas. Move from rajas, which is go, try and make something happen, really driven by desire with often a lot of fear underlying it, to okay, now I'm having the courage to really let go of my ego and go into a neutrality, a detachment from my ego, and a willingness that comes from spirit that's inspired. At 310, you are listening to guidance and you're being inspired by that to do what what's required in the world. It's a very inspiring worldview. So now, someone at this level is starting to need another type of teaching. Forgiveness starts to become, letting go starts to become more of what they need. You see that even someone like Tony Robbins, who's the kind of the king of personal growth, and then see in the last, I don't know, 5 years maybe, started to become much more spiritual, much more less about, what can you get, what can you achieve. So like, okay, you need to start letting go of the ego and letting go of attachments. And he's had people like Michael Singer on his podcast and so on. Because it's like, well, where do you go from a growth mindset? You go to forgiveness and letting go, to a transcendent mindset where now, these transcendent states, a higher reasoning, ability to let go through higher reasoning and understanding, and the ability to experience love, peace, and joy, and ultimately the ineffable bliss of pure awareness, start to become attractive, start to become what you want. So that would be the third level, going from rajas to sattva, which is going into knowledge, going into experientially knowing love, peace, and joy. And not to say that you don't operate in the world, but there's a lot of peace, a lot of joy. Joy, I think, is the highest state for manifestation. You can stay in a state of joy and allow that joy to come into your action. You're going to be manifesting things on a different level from, let's say a desire level, or even an optimism level, because everything would then be sparkling with the joy and infused with that joyous energy. Beyond that, at peace and above, you probably don't really have much incentive to do anything. So typically the people who attain these levels don't do very much. They just become what we call placeholders, where they just sit and they hold that frequency. And then people come to them, and often then other people do the doing around them. Take Ramana Maharshi. Didn't do very much. He didn't build ashrams and raise money and organize stuff. He just sat in this, very, very peaceful state, and it all happened around him. He attracted followers who then did it for him, and he just held this very, very high frequency of peace and this ineffable bliss that he would bring people into. If he'd got too much involved in doing, then he would have dropped down from that level into these lower levels. Anyway, so that's just giving you a little bit more depth on the levels of teaching that seem to exist in this world. Ultimately, they're meaningless because at pure awareness, there are no levels. But while you're in the illusion, these levels seem to operate, and you need to often go from one level of teaching to another.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't really exist at level one. So what he's saying in this level, there's no levels, but while you are awakening from the illusion in the dream, there seem to be these levels, and understanding these levels through a map like this. There's various other models of growth, consciousness growing from one level to another. It's not the only one. They're all really saying the same thing, just depending on how the formulator wants to kind of cut it up and dissect it. They're saying pretty much the same thing, that you go from quite low level, low energy state, very negative, and you start climbing the ladder up, into more positive states of mind, which then creates a different external reality. If you can stay, let's say, at a frequency of willingness, inspiring, hopeful willingness, optimism, and you do that for years in the face of difficulties, you would probably be a great entrepreneur. Person who comes to mind immediately is, say, Richard Branson. Really optimistic, willing, hopeful, inspiring, did that for years in the face of great obstacles with Virgin, and he built, a very valuable company because of that. Steve Jobs might be another one, with Apple. Just having some kind of inspiring vision, and then look at what they manifested because they were willing to carry on for years and years. Steve Jobs got fired from his company, and then he came back in the 90s, and round two was even more successful than round one, arguably, because he then built it into the most valuable company in the world. With his new, instead of being bitter and twisted that he'd been fired, he came back with fresh energy and willingness, and the willingness to contribute. So, these are examples of people who've done it in the world, and, look at what they built to, major companies that we all know are household names, Virgin and Apple. from the spiritual journeys of the founders, really. It was an expression of their awakening and their level of consciousness, their level of learning that then came out in the company. Okay, so are you happy with number 3? Levels of teaching and learning. We go to number 4 then. So I think this can probably, there's only one, God is not mistaken in his son. We'll just read the last couple of sentences in both. So I think it's Kim's turn. Kim, if you can read it in the alternative from the top.
Each teaching learning situation is maximal in the sense that each person involved will learn the most that he can from the other person at the time. In this sense, and in this sense only, we can speak of levels of teaching. Using the term in this way, the second level of teaching is a more sustained relationship for which for time two people enter into a fairly intense teaching learning situation and then appear to be separate. As
Yeah,
with
to
the
separate.
first level, then appear to separate. As with the first level, these meetings are not accidental, nor is what appears to be the end of the relationship with the real end. Again, each has learned the most that they can at the time. Yet all who meet will someday meet again, for it is the destiny of all relationships to become holy, innocent. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is not mistaken in its extension.
Okay, so what's he saying in that one in summary?
I'm just thinking.
It's okay, yeah. Take your time.
I think, well, this he's saying in the context of a teaching learning situation, in the sustained version, where each person involved can learn the most from the other person at that time. It's as though it's intense, so it's very much a, I'd say, focused teaching situation. So it's not just a chance encounter or a synchronistic encounter. It's a more in-depth, sustained relationship. That's the difference with the level. But it's more sustained in that you learn more, or learn the most you can at the time, or learn it's really a more intense or maximized situation of teaching for both persons. Because when
And
we've
then,
losing this temporary, but would meet again, like we're all going to meet again, I think is what they're saying.
yeah. Well, so that doesn't necessarily mean you'll meet again in this life.
Yeah.
It might mean that you could interpret a number of levels. It might mean meeting again in this life someday, or it could mean another lifetime, or it could mean, well, we just meet again in truth, in pure formless awareness, because we both, you know, awaken, and then we become one. We merge into the same awareness, and we meet again as the one awareness, the one self that we are. So a number of levels you can interpret that on, but you know, that we're not really ever separate. It just means sometimes, you know, you have a relationship that lasts for several years, could even last for a decade or two, and then it moves on, and you know, you move on for whatever reason. Both, and what he's saying is both parties, both people have then learned what they can from the other person for that time, and then they, you know, they go their separate ways to continue their journey. We've all had these kinds of relationships, which might have been quite, you know, intense for a while, and then that's it. It's, you know, it ends. Fairly intense teaching learning situation. You have to separate, yeah.
Right, I'll see you in the morning, sweetie.
Quite interesting. It's like when they, you know, people have these past life regressions, or someone says, okay, well, you've had a life, or maybe there's been some karma in another lifetime, or it's just still interesting how in this form are we still separate? Are there these interactions that can happen in, you know, different lifetimes?
Yeah.
And that there's some
often,
kind of memory there.
yeah. You know, how do people from one lifetime meet each other in another one? It just kind of happens. Somehow
And different
they connect again.
identities. But there's
Yeah.
as different identities, it could be like another lifetime, I don't know, let's just call it a father-daughter relationship, and then it's like a, you know,
Yeah.
they have complete, but it's so weird how you, like, they say you've met before in another lifetime.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Well, I think that's one way of interpreting what he said. Yet all who meet will someday meet again, not necessarily
yeah.
in this lifetime, in another one. And you could interpret it of as well, we'll all meet again in truth, as the in the Christ, as the one self. When we all awaken, then you meet again as the one self. So yeah, interpret it as you want. I think someday would sort of indicate maybe he's talking about time, space still, not talking about that top level destiny of all relationships to become wholly innocent. So at some point you meet that person again, particularly if there's karma to work out. You know, if you've had quite an intense encounter with someone, there's some unresolved stuff, it's almost certain you'll meet again to resolve it. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in another one. And then, you know, the karma plays out in the other lifetime in a different, the two people have different roles. As you say, one lifetime they might be a couple, you know, in an intimate relationship. In another one, they might be father and son, mother, daughter, siblings, whatever, you know, business partners, all of these relationships that seem to exist here. Any of those combinations is possible. And so we just have to sort of marvel at the synchronicity of it. When you think of some of the encounters you've met, and think of meeting my wife, Deborah, and it's just, well, how did that happen? You can tell you there's a connection. I was born in a different country, you know, just some kind of random encounter. Just happened to meet her because I rented a room from her. But that's not by accident. You know what I mean? It's like somehow we were meant to meet and connect, and sort of everything conspired to make us do that. So, you know, just be open to it, be aware of what's going on, and this is what this section is designed to do. Just make us aware of all these different levels, and appreciate, you know, the levels of what's actually happening and what has happened in our lives. And then you start to understand that it's not just all by random chance. It's like there is actually some kind of divine design behind all of these encounters. Okay, anything else on that? I think that's fairly clear. Second level, so third level of teaching. Again, not much to translate there. Just the last sentence, no teacher of God, which is no teacher of perfect love. So, Elaine, if you can read that. Third level of teaching.
The third level of teaching occurs in relationships which, once they are formed, are lifelong. These are teaching learning situations in which each person is given a chosen learning companion who presents him or her with unlimited opportunities for learning. These relationships are generally few because their existence implies that those involved have reached a stage simultaneously in which the teacher-learning balance is actually perfect. This does not mean that they are necessarily recognize this. In fact, they generally do not. They may even be quite hostile to each other for some time and perhaps for life. Yet should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is there for both of them to learn. And if they decide to learn that lesson, they become the awakeners of the teachers who falter and may even seem to fail. No teacher of perfect love can fail to find the help they need. We're just talking about this third level of teaching, which occurs in relationships. And these can be lifelong. These teacher-learning situations have been chosen, but there's generally few in existence.
Well, you missed the unlimited opportunities, and this unlimited opportunities for learning. I like that.
Oh yes.
Okay, so this person is going to push your buttons a lot. That's what that's saying. There's going to be a lot of difficulty potentially. Learning happens when you have difficulty. Unlimited opportunities for learning. And yeah, I have to say, from my own experience of having a intimate, special relationship with my wife, there's certainly unlimited opportunities. Okay, yeah, your ego goes, when is it ever going to end? Oh my God! But that's what it's for. It's actually for the ending of the ego. It's for the awakening. So the purpose of the relationship is enlightenment, is awakening. That's its only real purpose. You're not meant to, have this wonderful special relationship that's all hunky-dory and, both of you live happily ever after. It's meant for your growth. It's meant to awaken you from your delusion of being a separate self. That's the purpose of the relationship. So if you approach it from that point of view, then the inevitable, difficulties, conflicts, arguments, which he talks about here, they may even be quite hostile to each other. They don't necessarily recognize. In fact, they generally do not. Yeah, so most people don't recognize what's going on because they're too embroiled in the daily grind of life. They get too caught up in the specialness of the relationship, and so they don't recognize it. They may even be quite hostile for some time and perhaps for life. Yet there's this opportunity for them to learn from each other if they choose to learn it. Learn, very powerful lessons. Yeah, sorry, Lana, I hijacked that. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's, you've said it very well. Yeah, you've summarized it well.
So if we decide to learn the lesson, then, the lesson is there to be learned. And so of course, we're not saying, oh, well, just opt out of all your special relationships and go become a monk and you live on your own or live in a monastery. It's saying, no, okay, the ego might have set these up, but use them for what they're for, which is awakening. And they do offer you unlimited opportunities for learning and growth if you see them that way. They can be very, very helpful in your awakening process. But it's not easy. You know, unlimited opportunities for learning come as difficulties, as challenges, as conflicts, which your ego doesn't like and generally wants to run away from. But the Holy Spirit says, no, this is exactly what you need to learn. So stick around because there's more lessons to be learned with this person, because this is a lifetime teaching, learning situation. Chosen learning companion who presents him or her with unlimited opportunities for learning.
So don't get divorced.
Hmm?
Don't get divorced.
So if people get divorced, then it would probably be a level 2, wouldn't it? They've learned the most they can learn at the time. They've been together 10 years or whatever, and then they get divorced and they go their separate ways because that was all they could do. They weren't ready to learn more. But if they're willing to persevere through their difficulties, you know, there's a profound lesson to learn. They could learn to genuinely, unconditionally love each other if they were both willing to let go of their egos. Divorce is really just saying, well, we can't resolve our difficulties, so we'll just opt out. We'll just won't interact with each other. We haven't really learned the lesson. So, okay, that's the most you can learn at that point. So it's a level 2 encounter. But then the lessons will come for you in another form, in your next relationship, if you have another relationship. Same lessons, same stuff will come up. And the ego goes, can't believe it. I just keep doing this. People are so, you know, every man or woman I meet, they're the same. It's like, no, why, what, you know, pay attention. Maybe that's got something to do with you. Maybe it's saying more about what's in you than about them. If you keep getting the same thing over and over again, you've got to start wondering, okay, maybe it's actually me. Who's the common denominator? I've had 5 relationships. They all end up, you know, in a where I'm fighting and I'm conflicting. Okay, like, hang on, what's the common denominator in all 5 for me? Okay, maybe I should look in the mirror instead of blaming the other 5. You know, wonder what I'm doing to contribute to it. Okay, so let's summarize this. Personalized summary. So
the lesson then is really to let go.
yeah, always, yeah. The lesson is letting go in the context of the relationship. So what relationships help us do is they help us see our stuff, the ego's negativity. They trigger it to arise, and then we get the opportunity to let it go. And that's what they're for. And so the more they trigger you, the better, actually. Ego hates that. It goes, oh, I can't stand this person and I hate them and I just want to get out of here. I want a divorce, or at the, you know, the extreme, it'll want to murder them. There's couples who kill each other, literally, because they can't stand you so much. But there's a lesson to be learned if you're willing to learn it. That's what he's saying. And then that's a very important part of your awakening journey. These relationships, these kinds of lifetime relationships or intense teaching, learning situations, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you learn your lessons. So don't shy away from those. You know, go, okay, bring it on then. This is great. You know, I'm learning stuff that I need to learn. All right, so let's just summarize it quickly. So if you read the Personalized summary, just read a paragraph each. If you want to reflect on it at all, just a quick 30-second-minute reflection on each paragraph, and then you can cover this in about 10 minutes.
Okay. As a teacher of perfect love, I recognize that there is no set level at which I teach. Every interaction is unique, although the ultimate aim is always to foster a relationship of shared awareness of innocence. I'm open to learning from everyone, and there is no one I cannot teach. While I can't possibly meet or teach everyone, the plan of perfect love ensures that I will encounter those with whom I am meant to have meaningful encounters. There's no,
Yeah.
there's, so we're going to have interactions and encounters with others along the way. The aim is to foster a relationship, shared awareness. So it's to have a holy relationship, and that's where we open to learning the lesson with who we encounter, whether it's chance or longer relationship. We're not going to meet everybody in this lifetime. It's not practical, but it ensures that we have meaningful encounters with those that we do meet.
Yeah, and that's just to recognize that this kind of teaching is helpful, because when you have those encounters, if you don't understand, it's very easy to just miss them and go, oh, I just missed a meaningful encounter. But if you have this kind of teaching in the back of your mind, oh, okay, so this is what Yeshua was talking about. There's a meaningful encounter, which can be quite superficial. So in this paragraph, he explains that again. Elaine, do you want to read number 2? This is the superficial level, level 1.
In seemingly superficial encounters, like a chance meeting in an elevator or a child bumping into an adult, there is always an opportunity for awakening. These moments are not coincidental. They offer a lesson in letting go of the belief in separation, if only briefly. This is the first level of teaching and learning. So even these superficial encounters are still opportunities for awakening, and they're not coincidental. They offer a lesson of letting go of this belief in separation, even though it's only briefly. And this is counted as the first level of teaching and learning.
Yeah. So just be awake to those. You're walking around in the world, don't go sleepwalking through it. Be open and aware of these encounters. It might be an encounter, as I said, with a beggar, a robot. It might be a shop assistant. It might be a stranger in the street. It might be Kim, your encounter with the person you didn't even meet them, but who found your credit card. Just
Yes.
kind of random. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I'll never meet you, but there's some kind of holy encounter there, even though you don't meet them. Now you can do it virtually.
Yeah.
In Facebook, on social media, you could even use that for holy encounters.
Yeah.
So the opportunities for encounters even now broader, because you could do it virtually as well as physically. When the course was
Yes.
written, that wasn't possible, but now it is. Okay, next one, understanding levels of teaching.
Understanding levels of teaching within the universal course is challenging, as these levels, like the concept of time, do not really exist in reality. Any teaching situation reflects the undivided, pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is always present and ready to be experienced. So the
Okay, any comments on?
levels, we perceive levels here in this, there can be infinite number of levels in the illusion, but it's not really what it doesn't really exist because it's an illusion. But each opportunity of teaching reflects undivided, pure formless awareness of perfect love, i.e. God, who's always present. and really to be experienced. The situation is really to be experienced because it's kind of being held in this awareness of perfect, pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah, so that's always behind all the levels. So there's ultimately there's one top level domain, which is symbolized in our diagrams as that blue oval. That's top level, but then the other levels seem to happen in this world, and this top level underlies all of it. It's all a movement back towards the top level. So the pure formless awareness of perfect love is infusing all of the work that's happening at this level of awakening and transformation, the corrections, the forgiveness. It's all ultimately coming from pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay, so the second level of teaching is more sustained relationships.
The second level of teaching is a more sustained relationship in which two people enter into a fairly intense teaching-learning situation and then appear to separate. They learn the most they can from each other at the time and will meet again someday, perhaps in this world or certainly in the state of pure formless awareness, which it is everyone's destiny to attain. So they're talking about the second level of teaching, which is a little bit more sustained, where two people enter into a learning situation and then they separate. They learn the most out of one another, and then maybe one day they might meet again. Perhaps in this world, or certainly in the state of formless awareness, which of course is everyone's destiny.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward. There'll be these sometimes intense encounters, and then for whatever reason, people separate, but it's not the end. They'll meet either perhaps in another lifetime, perhaps in this world. Head in this or another lifetime. Well, certainly in the state of pure formless awareness, which is everyone's destiny to obtain. So next one, Kim.
Teaching learning situations are maximized when each person learns as much as they can from the other at that time. Relationships can be transient or lifelong, yet they all ultimately guide me towards holy, innocent relationships with my companions. So you can have a relationship in your life, one's lifetime, which is not, it's transient or could be most of your life, but they have in common, they guide us towards innocent relationship with our companions, and that's through learning and forgiveness and correction of perception.
Yeah, exactly. We can learn what we can at the time. And then we move on sometimes. And then there's a third level that's lifelong. Elaine, if you can read that.
The third level of teaching is a lifelong relationships, which, although rare, offer unlimited opportunities for learning. Even these relationships are hostile, They always contain perfect lessons for awakening for both people involved, if they are willing to learn them. As a teacher of perfect love, I am assured that no matter what seems to happen in this world, I will always find the help that I need to take the next step in my journey of awakening. So we're on to the third level of teaching, and these tend to be lifelong relationships. And these also can be hostile, but there's always lessons in them if they're willing to look at them in that way. So as a teacher of perfect love, we're assured that no matter what seems to happen in the world, we'll always find help, which will take us on to the next step of the journey of awakening.
Yeah, and all these relationships are very much a part of our journey. You know, where do we learn the most? In relationships. Because they challenge us the most, they test us, they bring up, stuff we don't want to look at. The person's our mirror. Without those, how would you awaken? So the special relationships that trigger you are exactly what you need, the lessons you need to learn or lie in those. Okay, and then just the key message to wrap up the section. It's Kim, if you can read that.
As a teacher of perfect love, I engage in relationships of all durations to both teach and learn, knowing that each relationship, whether it's a casual encounter, lasts for a few years or is lifelong, is meaningful and contributes to the shared goal of awakening to a wholly innocent state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a
really,
fairly good summary.
yeah.
The different levels, and just as you go through your day, if you can be aware of this. Okay, there's opportunities for casual holy encounters all over the place. Oh, I'm now, talking to my partner, someone who I've got, a lifelong learning relationship with. Okay, well, that's another opportunity for learning. So you frame it all within the context of, okay, these are the levels of learning and teaching that are going on, and suddenly life becomes meaningful. This is all about this is a school. You're learning lessons all the time, and relationships are the classroom, another classroom. The whole world teaches you. We can particularly learn lessons in the relationships that this world offers us. So that's really the key point of this. Just be aware of the different levels, and so you're not just asleep, bumbling through your life, going, well, it's the relationship should just make me happy, and the person should do what I want them to do all the time. That's kind of being asleep at the wheel and not recognizing what the relationship is for. Missing all the holy encounters you can have with people who you meet just on a casual basis in your life. You go to the shops, you meet a shop assistant, the beggar stops you at the corner, etc. Well, why pass up those opportunities? Why not take them and make them meaningful? And then this is how joy and love and so on come permeating into your life, infusing every aspect of it, if you allow it to. Okay, yeah, so any other comments, questions on this one? It's
Yeah,
quite
just from I think in my mind through when we've been going through this, the text here, I've been considering the learning, and then I realized, they talk about teaching as well. So is the teaching that, especially with encounters for people, whether short or in a lifelong relationship, the teaching part is that they're learning from the situation as well. So we're part of the other person's learning. Is that where the teaching part comes in?
Yeah, well, you're always teaching. You're teaching a thought system. by your words, your actions, you're teaching automatically, and able to learn from that. You learn from your own teaching, and the other person is also teaching and learning. In these encounters, in these relationships, it wouldn't appear to be officially the one person's teaching the other at like let's say an intimate relationship level. But both people are teaching and learning simultaneously, which is what he points out, unlimited opportunities for learning.
Okay, but when you say teaching a thought system,
Yeah, so you teach a thought system by your words, by your actions.
okay. So it could be
Just
either
by
thought system.
yeah, you're going to be teaching one or the other,
Yeah.
the ego or the Holy Spirit, depending on which thought system you're in. Then that's going to dictate your thoughts, your words, your actions, and you teach that by your words and your actions, even if you don't mean to. No one's meaning to be a teacher in situations. Just had this encounter with business partners. They weren't trying to teach anything overtly, but they were teaching a thought system in their words and their actions, which was the incorrect thought. It was the ego's thought system. And they weren't meaning to be teachers, but that's what they were teaching into teaching others in the world. Through that, this is the way it should be, this is the way to be. And then the Holy Spirit comes in and says, no, that's not correct. There's another way of being. And so then that teaches another thought system. And the two don't reconcile. You can't learn both because they oppose each other. Or is it odds? So it's one or the other. You've got to choose which one you're going to teach and which one you're going to learn. Which makes this a very simple teaching. There's some spiritual teachers and teachings that try and fudge it and say, well, you can have the best of both worlds. You can be spiritual, but you can also kind of have the ego in there. As long as, I remember listening to a lecture once by a pastor at church. You say, no, it's fine. You can have the ego as long as the ego is being controlled by God. The ego's got to be like subservient to God, which sort of, I suppose sounded reasonable to people who don't understand that actually it's not possible. You can't, because if something totally contradicts something else, one can't serve the other. We're a bit like having an employee who's always going to do exactly the opposite of what you ask them to do. How long is that employment relationship going to last? Not very long. It's like, well, I tell you to do something, you do exactly the opposite. Okay, you do that, say 3 times, and okay, you're out. We can't. There's no there's no cooperation here. There's no ability to work together because you just don't listen to me. Do the opposite. So same thing. Ego will never listen to the Holy Spirit because it can't. If it listens to the Holy Spirit, then the ego is done for. The ego is going to be undone. So it has to resist it in order to maintain its existence. So they're always going to be at odds.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is now almost 25 to 11 your time, Ken. 25 to 9 our time. Do you want to end this here or do a lesson? I'm happy to carry on and do the lesson, which is only 2 paragraphs, and a meditation on it, which will probably take us half an hour. But if you want to end it, that's okay too. So depends on what the two of you want to do.
Well, I'm going to bid you good night.
Okay, Alan, thanks for joining.
Yeah. See you.
And
Have a nice weekend.
yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to join tomorrow. We can do a session tomorrow, or you'll skip it. Actually, I think let's skip tomorrow. I
Okay.
was planning to go for a walk, so yeah. Should
Yeah.
we just leave it till Monday?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, have a nice weekend, everyone.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Good
Ed.
night. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
All right. So,
Oops, I'm just
Bye.
trying to leave. Oh,
bye.
sorry, I'm trying to leave. Sorry there. Right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So,
Um,
do you want to do the lesson, Kim?
yeah, I am fading a bit, Jono, but let's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's 2 paragraphs, so you can. It's
Yeah,
pretty quick.
yeah. Okay.
Let's stop that. Okay, so this is lesson 277 of the workbook. Just 2 short paragraphs. And then I can do a 10-15 minute meditation for you, which will prepare you nicely for you like. So 277, if you want to read that in the original, I'll tell you what I do with Elaine. I'll read the original, you read the alternative. So let me not bind your son with laws I made is the key idea, and the original idea, and the alternative.
I will not bind myself with the laws I made.
Yeah, there's, some of the handcuffs freeing themselves as the image to illustrate that. So
Yeah.
your son is free, my father.
Your extension is free, my source.
Let me not imagine I have bound him with the laws I made to rule the body.
I will not imagine I have bound myself with the laws I made to rule the body.
So to rule my body. He is not subject to any laws I made by which I try to make the body more secure.
I am not subject to any laws I made by which I tried to make my body more secure.
He is not changed by what is changeable.
He is not changed by what is changeable. Oh, sorry. I am
I'm
not
not.
changed by what is changeable.
He is not slave to any laws of time.
I am not slave to any laws of time.
He is as you created him because he knows no law except.
I am as you extended me because I know no law except the law of perfect love.
And then read it from the top in the alternative.
Your extension is free, my source. I will not imagine I have bound myself with the laws I made to rule my body. I am not subject to any laws I made by which I tried to make my body more secure. I am not changed by what is changeable. I am not slave to any laws of time. I am as you extend me because I know no law except the law of perfect love. So the saying is that our true self is an extension, which is where we are free. We're not bound by what's an illusion, not bound by our body, and we're not bound by time, because we are an extension of perfect love, which is all there is. So in other words, we're not free of this, we're free of this kind of limited time body illusion, because it's not real.
Yeah. And we made up all these laws to try and make ourselves safe in the body. The laws of in this context, it's actually worth looking at very briefly. lesson 76, because it's kind of a rehash of that, just in a shorter form. So lesson 76, I'm under no laws but God's. I'm only subject to the laws of perfect love. It's really the same lesson, just restated.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
like talking about you not find your, you won't find your freedom in all these laws. It talks about, look at all the strange and twisted laws that you've set up to save you. He talks about green paper strips, money, piles of metal discs, small round pellet or some fluid pushed into my veins to sharpen needle or ward off disease and death. I really think I'm alone unless another body is with me. And then he details the laws of medicine, economics, health, all designed to protect the body, and you'll be saved. But these are all madness. They're all part of an illusory construct of a self that doesn't exist. Now apparently walking around in a body, and all these laws apparently are there to keep the body safe. Protect the body and you'll be safe. But do they work? For all the laws of medicine, does it keep the body alive? No. Everyone's going to die anyway. So it doesn't work. Economics. Do all the laws keep people safe? Do they make sure that everyone has everything they need all the time? There's no scarcity, there's no lack, there's no poverty. No, they don't work. There's a lot of poverty. Like most of the world live in poverty. Health, laws of health. Well, they don't work a lot of the time because people get sick. And so on and so on. So he's just pointing out the madness of it all.
Yeah.
The body is really endangered by the mind that hurts itself. And the body suffers. This is a great line. The body suffers just in order that the mind will fail to see it as the victim of itself. You read the rest. The body's suffering.
So I'm just trying to find the place. The body suffering.
There.
Oh, the body suffering is a mask the mind holds up to hide what really suffers. It would not understand it is its own enemy, that it attacks itself and wants to die. It is from this your laws will save the body. It is for this you think you are a body.
So it's really the mind that's attacking itself. All these laws mask that. So you can't see that you're attacking yourself and you want to die. So now how can your laws that you want to save you actually save you when you actually have a death wish and you want to die? And actually what underlies all the laws is a death wish. It's just not obvious. But actually that's why nothing works in this world, because it's underlying it all is a death wish. So it all leads to death in the end, no matter what you try within the laws and how much you pretend that the laws work, they don't, because everything ends in death. In the long run, I remember, the one thing that really stuck with me in economics, did I do 2 years of economics? I think I did. Economics 1 or economics 2. Right at the end of the lecture, the one thing I remember so clearly was the lecturer quoted John Maynard Keynes, who was like the guru economist. You recall, if you ever did economics. Keynes, he quoted him and he said, well, nothing really matters because in the long run, we're all dead. And that really stuck with me. It was like, yeah, actually, Keynes said that. There's a pretty genuine insight. Economics talks about short run and the long run and all this stuff. Well, Keynes was just like, well, in the long run, we're all dead. So none of it really matters, actually. What are we so bothered about? All these laws of economics, in the end, what, they come to an end when we die. So because maybe he had some inkling of the the illusory nature of it all. Often people who reach the highest level of their craft, as he did, get to some kind of realization that they're just playing a game. As Isaac Newton said, this great quote by Newton, where he says, it seems to me like I've just been like a child playing on the seashore with pebbles. I'll find it quickly.
Yeah.
It's not responding. Newton, there we go. Let's get that out the way. I've got the Zoom thing in the way. It makes it difficult to work it. Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to read that quote. Great quote.
I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore and diverting myself in now and then, finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, while the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me.
Pretty profound quote, really, isn't it? I think, wow. So this was the greatest mind, scientific mind of his generation. He was the person who founded Newtonian physics, which underpinned the entire Industrial Revolution. And at the end of his life, this is what he said about his work. Because most people don't know, he was an alchemist as well. So he had this other kind of alchemical thing going on, which is much more spiritual. And there was a conflict between the two, which obviously, he hadn't quite resolved, as he said here. It's like, well, I've just been fiddling around in the illusion. That's what he's saying. When the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. Now, why don't they teach us that in science at school? Wouldn't that make it much more interesting? Imagine if it was like, okay, so, let's look at Newtonian physics. We'll teach you that, and then we're going to teach you who Newton was, and that he had this other side. He was an alchemist, and he had this whole spiritual side, and this is what he said about his life's work. Oh, so maybe that meant that he knew that he hadn't really accessed the full truth, and then 300 years later, quantum mechanics showed that he hadn't. That actually, what he'd done was on one level true, but on another it wasn't true. That there was a deeper truth that was undiscovered, as he intimated. He knew there was something that he was missing, but couldn't discover it in his lifetime. And that that great ocean of truth is what we're all looking for. In a talk that I listened to at Cambridge, this very bright quantum physicist, is going on, and midway in the talk, he says, well, at time t equals 0, we know nothing. All our models break down, right? So that's a very profound statement. But he didn't pause for breath, and he just carried on, moving swiftly on. We just stumbled over a great truth there, but we just move on and talk more about the illusion. At time t equals 0, i.e. the timeless eternal state, now, we know nothing. Wow, okay. Just pause there for a moment and consider that. Maybe you've just hit upon the ultimate truth. Quantum mechanics has led you there. And instead of pausing and going, hang on, maybe there's something here. I just need to think about that. Explore that. He just moves straight on with the illusion, saying, no, but actually, let's go back into our models of the universe, and we'll talk about the standard model and quantum mechanics and where we want to go with it. And we want to learn more about it, and we want to perfect the model. And you've just overlooked the truth right there. In that statement was a profound truth, and he missed it. And probably the audience missed it, because it was literally one sentence. And only like when I listened to that, I was like, whoa, pause the video. What did he just say? Pause, go back, listen again. Whoa, okay. Like there's the gem of truth in the middle of, the quantum mechanics and what was the scientific lecture, and he just completely overlooked it. As Winston Churchill said, most men stumble over the truth from time to time, but they wander off as if they never found anything. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that, which is exactly what happened in that lecture. At least Newton recognized the limits of his work. He wasn't saying I've found the truth in Newtonian physics. In fact, he was saying I haven't found it. There's something I'm missing. So then why if he said that, did everyone say as okay, now Newtonian physics is the gospel truth? Because we like to cling to certainty. It gives us some kind of certainty of, okay, this is what the world is, and we have all these physical laws, and we can trust in that, even though actually they're not ultimate. Quantum mechanics is it shattered it all. So no, none of that's really true. That appears to be true. There's an illusion of its truth on one level, but you go deeper and those laws fall apart. So they weren't really true then. They weren't absolute. And even quantum mechanics, the laws of quantum mechanics are like, well, even that's not true. Because all it's saying is you can't be certain of anything in this world. That's what quantum mechanics says. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. There's no reality in the absence of observation. That's the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, which is the most commonly accepted one. So what's real then? It's shocking. It brings you to the realization of all the mystics. Well, maybe it's an illusion. It's just another science. Then becomes another path to awakening if you really understand it. Which someone like Einstein, and Newton, these great minds, they were starting to go there. They were starting to go into this higher abstract reasoning I talked about at level reasoning. So Hawkins calibrated people like Einstein and Galileo and Newton at 499 on his scale. What that actually means, and it's just but apparently he calibrated them just below the level of 500 because they hadn't quite broken through to love, which is more a feeling than thinking, but they had high level abstract reasoning ability. And they would have been aware that there was something else that perhaps they were missing, as Newton intimated in his quote, and Einstein in his last 25 years when he went to Princeton became more of a philosopher than a scientist. Spent his last 25 years not doing very much scientifically compared with his first 25 years of his career, but really ruminating on life and becoming more philosophical, and wrote things that were philosophical rather than scientific, because he was starting to go into these higher levels of reasoning and understanding. Anyway, bit of a digression, but hopefully an interesting one. Let's go back to where we were. So number 2, let us not worship idols, nor believe in any law idolatry would make to hide the freedom of the Son of God.
I will not value false beliefs, nor believe in any law any law falsity has made to hide the freedom of extension of perfect love.
I'm just going to change that to hide the extension of perfect love's freedom. Sounds better. He is not bound except by his beliefs.
I'm not bound except by my beliefs.
Change that to limited, I think. I'm not limited except by my beliefs.
I'm not limited except by
It's
my
only
beliefs.
a limit. I was listening to an interview from a lady who was doing, they've got a big show here called Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh, yes.
Every from September through to Christmas, Strictly Come Dancing is like, the thing people watch on a Saturday night. So they interview these people. There's a lady called Sarah Hadland. Actually, Deborah knows. She went to school, the dance school. And it was quite moving. She was reflecting on it, saying, well, I didn't expect this, but actually what this has shown me is that I've just limited myself. All the limits I put on myself, saying you can do this, you can't do this, are all self-imposed. And this is an opportunity to, and she was crying. She was literally going to tears. You can see it was quite moving for her. This is an opportunity to free myself from these beliefs. And that's what the dancing is really about. So now it's not just a dance. You're trying to win some competition on primetime TV to get, the glory of that. It's actually about your own personal growth. It's about learning who you are and transcending the fears and the limits that you put on yourself, which then is actually what it's for. Not about, winning some competition or being the best dancer or the most glamorous, sexy person, or, no, it's not about any of that. There's that going on as well, obviously. A lot of white teeth and Botox and all of that's going on one level. But on another, there's this profound, journey that the contestants are going through the dancing. So there's always those different levels in these things that you can see if
Yeah.
So yet what he is, number 3, yet what he is far beyond his faith in slavery or freedom.
Yet what I am is far beyond my faith in slavery or freedom.
He is free because he is his father's son.
I am free because I am my source's extension.
And he cannot be bound unless God's truth can lie, and God can will that he deceive himself.
And I cannot be bound unless perfect love's truth can lie, and pure formless awareness of perfect love can want to deceive itself.
And I'll change it to limited. Cannot be limited. So then just read it from the top in the alternative.
I will not value false beliefs, nor believe in any law falsity that has made to hide the extension of perfect love's freedom. I am not limited except I'm not limited except by my beliefs. Yet what I am is far beyond my faith in slavery or freedom. I am free because I am my source's extension, and I cannot be limited unless perfect love's truth can lie, and pure formless awareness of perfect love can want to deceive itself.
Okay, so what's he saying there?
Yeah, I'm not, like number 2, I'm not limited except by my beliefs. Beliefs are still in the illusion. And that belief might be in that slavery, although it's interesting it says freedom as well. But again, it's a belief, but actually I am free as my true self because I'm part of God, part of Source, unless Source is lying as well.
Yeah. God can will that you deceive himself. Well, that's the illusion. The ego says that, but that's not true. Actually, the truth is still true. And so we can undeceive ourselves. We can let go of our self-deception and just realize the truth of who we are again. But we cannot be limited. You can't be infinite and eternal and immortal and also be limited. The two clearly contradict each other. I'm limitless, I'm unlimited and unlimited. Well, hang on, it's one or the other. You can't be both. It's a fairly obvious position, fairly obvious logic. But yet people still try and do both. The alternative school of non-duality, I once had a conversation with someone, I think I might have shared it with you. say, no, you can have both the illusion and the truth. You know, both can be true. I'm like, what? It's called an illusion precisely because it's not true. The one denies the other. No, you can, the alternative school of non-duality says you can have both. Well, obviously, then it's not non-duality, is it?
Yeah.
It's duality. Obviously, it's not the alternative school of non-duality. It's just duality. Let's be clear about it.
Yeah.
You've devolved into duality again. Don't call it the alternative school of non-duality because there is no alternative to non-duality. That's the whole point. It's non-dual. There's only one. There's only one non-dual truth. It's ridiculous, really. You think it's like laughable. How can you say the alternative school of non-duality? That's duality. It's like there can only be one non-dual truth. That's kind of the whole point of non-dual. But that's how the ego tries to come in and justify itself and create all kinds of cunning ways to keep itself going, because that particular guy was not ready to accept the pretty, uncompromising non-dual truth. He wanted still to have bodily experiences, but yet he wanted to still be spiritual. So then he found a version of spirituality that he called the alternative school of non-duality that allowed him to indulge his need to still be a body and to still have sensual experiences in the body. So he was into tantra, and he was going, well, there's nothing quite like stroking a woman's back. So I'm going, well, it's just an illusion. That's not ultimate truth. It's just a temporary sensation. I'm like, why are you attaching to that when there's ultimate pure formless awareness of perfect love that's beckoning you, and you want to fiddle around with that? But obviously that was what his mind was, still wanting. So then people find the belief system that justifies what they want, don't they? And they dress it up in some fancy lingo, and they try and convince themselves that it's the truth because I'm the alternative school of non-duality. Because he studied the Course. He knew about Advaita Vedanta. He'd studied A Course in Miracles, and then, went back into this kind of tantric teaching. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously that's your journey. Who am I to say don't do that? But there'll have to be a letting go at some point of that, because it's not the ultimate truth. You're fiddling around in the body and in what's not true and trying to make it true. Saying, well, this school believes that both the illusion and the truth can be true. They're just different levels of truth. Oh, okay. So now you have a multiplicity. Truth is a multiplicity rather than a singularity, where there are apparently different aspects of truth, which seem to contradict each other, because in illusion, there's limitation and suffering and death, and in the truth, there's not. So which is true then, if they contradict each other? I mean, anything, if you really look at any dualistic teaching, it doesn't make sense. You can't really make sense of it, because there's a fundamental contradiction and paradox that cannot be resolved unless you go to a non-dual position. If God is love and God created the world, then how can the world be such a mess? Why is there so much pain and suffering and misery and sickness and death in the world if God is love and God created the world? This isn't love what goes on here. So then one of those statements must be false. That God is not love. God is also fear. Okay, well, now you have a psychopathic God who's can change his mind at any time. It's hardly something you want to believe in. Or the second statement is true. God created the world. Maybe that's not true. Maybe something else created the world. Another consciousness that is not of God, that then is false. And this is the logic of the Course. This is non-dual teaching. It's the only way to resolve that paradox of God is love, and yet terrible things happen all the time in the world. And God created the world. Well, that doesn't make any sense there. Something's wrong there, isn't it? The logic doesn't stack up. This is something that all the religions, formal religions, have wrestled with for thousands of years. And they can't really answer it. You can only answer it through a non-dual, taking a non-dual position and saying, the world simply isn't real. This is an illusion. It's a false construct of an illusory mind that doesn't know what it's doing. It's forgotten what it is. And its only job is to awaken from its nightmare back into what it is, and then all the nightmares will disappear. And the apparent duality and all the suffering and pain it causes will just go. And you'll be restored back to the singularity of the awareness that you really are. That's what all the great teachers and teachings have said. They don't compromise from that. The great ones don't compromise from a non-dual position for that reason, because there is any other position, then you get stuck in the dream, trying to justify it, trying to make sense of what doesn't make sense.
Sure. All right. You do meditation.
Does that make sense?
Daniel? Yeah.
We can, yeah.
Yeah. That's a short one. If you don't mind, it's after 11 now.
Yeah, sure. Just 10 minutes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so let's do a quick meditation on lesson 277. So just closing your eyes. Your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in, the root lock in yoga, this is called, and you feel like it's a warm wave of energy, it's Kundalini energy rising up the spine, into your heart center, and up into the crown. So it's a maximal inhale breath, and pause at the top of the inhale. Remind yourself of today's idea. I will not bind myself the laws I made. So I want you to just look in your own mind, in your life at the moment, and see if there's anything that's limiting you, anything that's stressful, that's difficult, and apply these teachings to that situation. So it becomes very practical. So breathing in again, say, your extension is free, my source. Say this aloud or in your own mind after me. Your extension is free, my source. So I will not imagine I've bound my capital self with the laws I made to rule my body. I'm not subject to any laws I made by which I try to make my body more secure. Take another sip of air in. I am not changed by what is changeable. I am not slave to any laws of time. I am as you extend me, because I know no law except the law of perfect love. And on that exhale, breathe out, just letting it all go. Have a sense of releasing your attachment to, your belief in all of these laws. Laws of health and economics, medication, immunization, the body's protection in innumerable ways. All of those laws are false. This is what Yeshua is teaching us. Blow them away to the nothings they really are. They're going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here in this state of deep peace and stillness. Remind yourself as you breathe in again that I will not value false beliefs, nor believe in any law falsity has made to hide the extension of perfect love's freedom. Breathing in again. I am not limited except by my beliefs. exhale on the truth of that. Finding the relief and the freedom beyond these beliefs. Just dropping into your heart center, feeling the freedom there. Yet what I am, as you breathe in again, is far beyond my faith in slavery or freedom. I'm free because I am my source's extension. Breathing in again. And I cannot be limited unless perfect love's truth can lie. And pure formless awareness of perfect love can want to deceive itself. And just exhale, drop into this truth, the limitless awareness that you are, the freedom that you are. Give yourself a couple of minutes just to experience this state of being limitless, free, wholly aware of truth of who you are right now. For the next couple of minutes of deep silence. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about, just breathe. Allow the breath just to anchor you into this deep state of awareness beyond all limits, beyond all the false values, beliefs, idols, yes, you'll call them, of this world, lies your true awareness. Just rest in this awareness. Rest in peace, the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. Next. 2 minutes of deep silence. All right, so just coming back gently into awareness of the body and the breath and the senses in the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and subtle flow of air into the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale, smile, scan your mind. Noticing any thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting in any way, contracting, constricted. Just breathe into that. Breathing the light of this limitless awareness you hopefully accessed in the meditation. Breathing it into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. Just feel that light. You can carry that light with you, and the light drives out all darkness. So any of those remaining feelings of limitation, lack, in the mind, in thoughts, in emotions, in your body, wherever that sits, might be a contraction, dark feeling in your chest, your stomach, sweaty palms, nausea, panic attacks. Just blow it all out. The breeze of your breath, just letting it all go to the nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. From the stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in this still, calm, quiet, peaceful awareness. For a few moments. Anchor the state in. Stay in the state. Carry it to bed with you and on into tomorrow. So it is said and so it is done. So now just as you breathe in again, become aware of the breath, body senses, what you're feeling and touching, tasting perhaps, smelling as you breathe in, what you're hearing in the surrounding environment in a very calm, detached way. So there's no need to judge, name, label, interpret anything. Just allow it to be as it is. Not judgment, not interpretation. These things don't have reality. They simply remain as perceptions. You perceive something, but you're not giving it the heaviness and the weight the ego wants you to give it. Life is pretty light, just aware. It's kind of light state. It's called enlightenment. That's why it's called enlightenment. Just lightly aware of these sense perceptions without allowing them to weigh you down and sit on you or in you and bring all the heaviness and the seriousness and the darkness of the ego. So you can stay in this light awareness all the rest of the evening and on into tomorrow. So it is said, so it is done. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. So and notice whatever's around you in the room. It's a very clear, calm, aware state. Get an object for a few seconds. Notice this clean, clear awareness that underlies it. So if you're not judging the object, you don't even have to name it. The same awareness is present, underlying the sense perception. Look at another object, notice the same awareness. Identical, irrespective of what the object is. The same underlying fundamental awareness. Close your eyes briefly. Maybe you drop into that awareness a bit more deeply. Open your eyes. Notice it again. So this awareness is your fundamental awareness. This is what's always there. And there is absolutely nothing that can actually damage that awareness. Doesn't matter what's going on the level of form, sense perceptions. This awareness is permanent and eternal. It will remain forever, even after your body's gone, after this world is gone. This awareness remains. So connect with that awareness now and just stay in that awareness. And that carry you into a really peaceful sleep and a flowing day and weekend ahead. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and tonight's session. All right, thanks, Kim. I will see you next week, I hope.
Unmute myself.
I think
Thanks,
you're still
Jono.
muted, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for joining, staying till the end.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed that, and see you in a session. See you in a session next week, I hope.
Yes. Thanks, Jono.
All right.
Good
Namaste.
night. Namaste. Okay. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, so that's a wrap for today. Thank you to Kim and Elaine for joining. If you enjoyed that session, you can do a couple of things. Want to subscribe to the channel, just hit the subscribe button below. And you can also join us in our Telegram group. Go to lifeful.com and you can sign up there to the Telegram group to get access to a daily quote that I send out via Telegram, some commentary on that, and I send out a daily mind training lesson from A Course in Miracles, which was always in an original alternative format. We send out the section of the text, or now we're dealing with a manual for teachers every day, also in the original and alternative language you saw us going through in the session. You'll also get some meditations, short breath breaks, practice the lessons, and invitations to join these live calls 2, 3, or 4 times a week. So yeah, do join us in the group and on one of these calls. So hope to connect with you soon, and wishing you much love, peace, and joy. Namaste. The truth in me, the true self in me, acknowledges and honors that same true Christ self in you. Peace.